Prabhupada. All glories. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 6, Creation, Canto 3, Chapter 6, Creation of the Universal Form. Text 1. Rishiruvacha iti tasam svashaktinam satinam asametya saha prasupta lokatantranam nishamya gatimishvaraha.
The Rishi in Maitreya said, "The Lord thus heard about the suspension of the progressive creative functions of the universe due to the non-combination of his potencies, such as the Mahatattva."
Text 2. Kala Sagnam Tata Devim Pribhaktim Urukramaha Trayovim Shati Tattvanam Ganam Yugapad Avishat.
The Supreme Powerful Lord then simultaneously entered into the 23 elements with the goddess Kali, his external energy, who alone amalgamates all the different elements.
Text 3. So Nupravishto Bhagavams Jeshta Rupena Tam Ganam Binam Samyo Jayam Asa Saptum Karma Prabodhayan.
Thus, when the personality of Godhead entered into the elements by his energy, all the living entities were enlivened into different activities, just as one is engaged in his work after awakening from sleep.
Text 4. Prabuddha karma devena trayovim shatiko ganaha pradito janayat swapir matrapir adipurusham.
When the 23 principal elements were set in action by the will of the Supreme, the gigantic universal form, or the Vishvarup body of the Lord, came into existence.
Text 5. Parena vishata swasmin matraya vishvashrikanaha chakshopanyonyam asatya yasmin lokascharacharaha.
As the Lord in his plenary portion entered into the elements of the universal creation, they transformed into the gigantic form in which all the planetary systems and all movable and immovable creations rest.
Text 6. Hiranyamaya sapurushaha sahasra parivashtaran andakosha uvasapsu sarva sattva prabimhitaha.
The gigantic Virat Purusha, known as Hiranyamaya, lived for 1,000 celestial years on the water of the universe, and all the living entities lay with him.
Text 7. Save Vishva Srijam Karpo Deva Karmatma Shaktiman Vibhapajat Manatmanam Ekata Dashata Trita.
The total energy of the Mahatattva in the form of the gigantic Virat Rupa divided himself by himself into the consciousness of the living entities, the life of activity and self-identification, which are subdivided into 1, 10, and 3, respectively.
Text 8. Esha Yeshesha Sattvanam Atma Sha Paramatmanaha Adyovataro Yatra Sao Bhuta Gramo Vipavyate.
The gigantic universal form of the Supreme Lord is the first incarnation and plenary portion of the Supersoul. He is the self of an unlimited number of living entities, and in him rests the aggregate creation, which thus flourishes.
Text 9. Satyatma Sati Devascha Sati Bhuta Iti Trita Virat Prano Dasha Vitta Ekata Ritayena Cha.
The gigantic universal form is represented by 3, 10, and 1 in the sense that he is the body and the mind and the senses. He is the dynamic force for all movements by 10 kinds of life energy, and he is the one heart where life energy is generated.
Text 10. Smaran Vishma Srijam Isho Vigna Pitam Adokshajaha Virajam Atapatsvena Tejas Sesham Vivrittaye.
The Supreme Lord is the super soul of all the demigods, entrusted with the task of constructing the cosmic manifestation. Being thus prayed to by the demigods, he thought to himself and thus manifested the gigantic form for their understanding.
Text 11. Atha tasya pitaptasya katitya yatananiha nirapityanta devanam tani me kadata shrinu.
Maitreya said, "You may now hear from me how the Supreme Lord separated himself into the diverse forms of the demigods after the manifestation of the gigantic universal form."
Text 12. Tasyaknir asyam nirbinnam lokapalo vishatpadam vacha swamshena bhaktavyam yayaso pratipadyate.
Agni, or heat, separated from his mouth, and all the directors of material affairs entered into it in their respective positions. By that energy, the living entity expresses himself in words.
Text 13. Nirbinnam talu varuno lokapalo vishattarahe jivaya jaina jarasam yayasau pratipadyate.
When the palette of the gigantic form was separately manifested, Varuna, the director of water in the planetary systems, entered therein, and thus the living entity has the facility to taste everything with his tongue.
Text 14. Nirbinne ashvino nase vishnor avishtatam padam granenam shena gandasya pratipatiryato bhavet.
When the Lord's two nostrils separately manifested themselves, the dual Ashvini Kumaras entered them in their proper positions, and because of this, the living entities can smell the aromas of everything.
Text 15. Nirbinne akshini tvashta lokapalo vishat vipoho chakshusham shena rupanam pratipatiryato bhavet.
Thereafter, the two eyes of the gigantic form of the Lord were separately manifested. The sun, the director of light, entered them with a partial representation of eyesight, and thus the living entities can have vision of forms.
Text 16. Nirbinanyasya charmani lokapalo nilo vishat prananenam shena samsparsham yanasa pratipatyate.
When there was a manifestation of skin separated from the gigantic form, Anila, the deity directing the wind, entered with partial touch, and thus the living entities can realize tactile knowledge.
Text 17. Karnav asya vinirbinnau tishnyam swam vivishur dishaha shotrenam shena shabdasya sittam yena prapatyate.
When the ears of the gigantic form became manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions entered into them with the hearing principles, by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound.
Text 18. Tvachamasya vinirbinnam vivishu tishnyam asattihi amshena romapi kandum yer asau pratipatyate.
When there was a separate manifestation of skin, the controlling deities of sensations and their different parts entered into it, and thus the living entities feel itching and happiness due to touch.
Text 19. Medram tasya vinirbinnam swatishnam ka upavishat rita samshena yanasav anantam pratipatyate.
When the genitals of the gigantic form separately became manifest, then Prajapati, the original living creature, entered into them with his partial semen, and thus the living entities can enjoy sex pleasure.
Text 20. Kudam pumso vinirbinnam mitro lokesha avishat vayunam shena yanashau visargam pratipatyate.
The evacuating channel separately became manifest, and the director named Mitra entered into it with partial organs of evacuation. Thus, the living entities are able to pass stool and urine.
Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Jashi Mataji and Prabhuji for the very nice recitation.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Jai Shri Mataji, for reciting the Sanskrit, and for the English, thank you, Prabhuji, nicely recited. I'm just going to share you my screen. Okay, can you see that? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please say some humble obeisances. Glory to Shri Prabhupada, glory to Krishna, glory to all of you. My name is Krishna Govinda Das, and today for Chad, 29th of December, 2024, I'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 6, Creation of the Universal Form. And the verses we're reading today is verses 1 and 4. I've been away for a little while, been away in India and other personal commitments as well. So the last couple of weeks I wasn't able to attend. I do apologize for last minute. I had to send messages to the organizers that I wasn't able to attend. But today I'll see if I could enlighten everybody on the wonderful topics of the glories of Shri Shri, Radha and Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Verse 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rishi Vacha Iti Tasa Swashakti Nam Sati Nama Sametyasa Prasupta Loka Tantra Nam Nishamya Gatimishvaraha. Translation: the Rishi Maitreya said, the Lord thus heard about the suspension of the progressive creative functions of the universe due to the non-combination of its potencies, such as the Mahatattva. Purport: there is nothing wanting in the creation of the Lord. All the potencies are there in a dormant state, but unless they are combined by the will of the Lord, nothing can progress. The suspended progressive work of creation can only be revived by the direction of the Lord. Verse number 2. Kala sangyam tada devim bibrak shatim urukramaha dravyamim shati tatvanam ganam yugapadavishad. Translation: the Supreme Powerful Lord that simultaneously entered into the 23 elements with the goddess Kali, its external energy, who alone amalgamates all the different elements. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The ingredients of matter are counted as 23, the total material energy: false ego, sound, touch, form, taste, smell, earth, water, fire, air, sky, eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, hand, leg, evacuating organ, genitals, speech, and mind. So these are the 23 different elements or ingredients for the material energy self. All are combined together by the influence of time and are again dissolved in the course of time. Time, therefore, is the energy of the Lord and acts in our own way by the direction of the Lord. This energy is called Kali and is represented by the dark, destructive goddess, generally worshipped by persons influenced by the mode of darkness or ignorance in material existence. In the Vedic hymn, this process is described as Mula Prakriti Avikriti Mahadaya Prakriti Vikrataya Shapta Shoda Shaktas Shoda Shakas Tu Vikaro Na Prakriti Na Vikriti Purusha. The energy which acts as material nature, the combination of 23 ingredients, is not the final source of creation. The Lord enters into the elements and applies his energy, called Kali. In all other Vedic scriptures, the same principle is accepted in Brahma Samhita. From 5.35 it is stated, Ekopi Ashore Chayaton Jagatananda Kotim Yakchakti Ashte Jagadananda Chaya Yadantaha Adantarasta Paramo Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Pajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, was the original personality of Godhead. By his partial plenary expansion, Mahavishnu enters into the material nature and then into each every universe as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and then as Sharadaksha Vishnu into all the elements, including every atom of matter. Such manifestations of cosmic creation are innumerable, both in the universe and in the individual atoms. Similarly, this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 42. Tava bahuni tena kim ketena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam krishnam ekam shena stato jagat. Arjuna, there is no necessity of you knowing about my innumerable energies, which act in various ways. I enter into the material creation by my partial plenary expansion, Paramatma, or the super soul in all the universes and in all the elements thereof. And thus the work of creation goes on. The wonderful activities of mature nature are due to Lord Krishna, and thus he is the final cause, or the ultimate cause of all causes. Let's just carry on reading the last two verses. This is verse 3. So nupravishto bhagavams jeshta rupena tam ganam binam samyojayamesha suptam kama prabodhyayan. Translation. Thus, when the personality of Godhead entered into the elements by his energy, all the living entities were enlivened into different activities, just as one is engaged in his work after awakening from sleep. Purport by His Divine Grace, Prabhupada. Every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation, thus enters into the Lord with this material energy. These individual living entities are conditioned souls everlastingly, but in each and every material creation, they're given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. They're all given a chance to take advantage of the Vedic wisdom and find out what is their relationship with the Supreme Lord, how they can be liberated, and what is the ultimate profit is in such liberation. By properly studying the Vedas, one becomes conscious of his position and thus takes to the transcendental devotional service of the Lord to gradually promote it to the spiritual sky. The individual soul in the material world engages in different activities according to their past and finished desires. After the dissolution of a particular body, the individual soul forgets everything, but the all-merciful Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as the witness, the super soul, awakens him and reminds him of his past desires. And thus he begins to act accordingly in his next life. This unseen guidance is described as fate, and a sensible man can understand that this continues his material bondage in the three modes of nature. The unconscious sleeper stage of the living entity just after the partial or total dissolution, the creation is strongly accepted as the final stage of life by some less intelligent philosophers. After the dissolution of the partial material body, the living entity remains unconscious for only a few months. And after the total dissolution of the material creation, it remains unconscious for many millions of years. But when the creation is again revived, it is awakened to his work by the Lord. The living entity is eternal. The wakeful state of his consciousness manifested by activities, its natural condition of life. He cannot stop acting while awake. Thus he acts according to his diverse desires. When his desires are trained to transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect and is promoted to the spiritual sky to enjoy eternal awakened life. Last verse, verse 4. Prabhuda kama devena trayo vimashati koganaha perito janayat swabir matrabir adipurusham. Translation. When the 23 principal elements were set in action by the will of the Supreme, the the gigantic universal form, when the Vishvarupa body of the Lord came into existence. The Virat Rupa or Vishvarupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, which is very much appreciated by the impersonalists, is not an internal form of the Lord. It is manifested by the supreme will of the Lord after the ingredients of the material creation. So I'll just read that last sentence again so you can all understand. The Virat Rupa or Vishvarupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, which is very much appreciated by the impersonalists, is not an internal form of the Lord. It is manifested by the supreme will of the Lord after the ingredients of material creation. Lord Krishna exhibited his Virat Vishvarupa to Arjuna just to convince the impersonalists that he is the original personality of Godhead. Krishna exhibited the Virat Rupa. It is not that Krishna was exhibited by the Virat Rupa. The Virat Rupa is not, therefore, an eternal form of the Lord, exhibited in the spiritual sky. It is a material manifestation of the Lord. The Archavigraha, the worshipable deity, the temple is a similar manifestation of the Lord for the neophytes. But in spite of the material touch, such forms of the Lord, the Virat and Archa, are all non-different from his eternal formless Lord Krishna. So this is a very nice verse. Actually, we learn a lot about this particular explanation of the universal form, the gigantic universal form that Lord Krishna reveals to Arjuna. So it is not a permanent form at all. It is actually a temporary form. And at the end of the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, it once again dissolves into the manifestation of Mahavishnu. Okay, I'll just recite the introduction prayers. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Shtapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Maya Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Shagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sata Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitana Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my obeisances to my special master, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Chara Swami Tinamane, and to ISKCON BBT Founder Charge Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pujayana Nivashri Satsanyavadi Pashadada Satarana. I kindly seek their blessing so I could speak on the wonderful topics of Radha and Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam topic of the material creation of the universal form, and also seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas listening as well. So I won't deny it. No matter how many times I read about the cosmic manifestation, it's not a subject I easily understand, and I have to read it again and again. So with the kindness and the mercy of the Vaishnavas listening, you could also participate and give your words of encouragement as well. Later on, I'm going to share a slideshow about the cosmic manifestation, from the Mahavishnu, all the different tattvas that Vishnus are manifested as well as this material cosmic manifestation is created. But just a little background about this particular topic is a discussion between Vidura. Vidura is actually the brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu of the Kaurava dynasty. But he decided to leave because he was actually humiliated by Duryodhana when he tried to speak to his brother Dhritarashtra to say, look, why don't you give half of the kingdom back to the Pandavas? It's a right that belongs to them. But Duryodhana, with his evil-minded brothers as well, they condemned Vidura. They always said that you're always partial towards the Pandavas. You never had any respect for the Kauravas. You never had respect for his father Dhritarashtra. They said so many harsh words. And as a result, Vidura felt very disappointed by their behavior and decided to leave the battlefield, leave the actual Hastinapur, and actually go on pilgrimage. And by the river Ganges in Haridwar, this is where he met Maitreya Muni. Now, Haridwar is a very special place. Now, there's 4 particular places where the Kumbh Mela is taking place or takes place. Does anybody know where those 4 holy places are? And where the current Kumbh Mela is going to take place this year?
Prayag?
Prayag, yes, Rasalila Mataji. Only 3 more. One of them I mentioned, Haridwar. The other 2 places, Nasik and Ujjain. Has anybody been to Kumbh Mela at all? Okay, just to give you an idea, a world record of 150 million pilgrims attended the Kumbh Mela in Nasik in 2013. Now, if any of you been to Kartik in Vrindavan, I tell you, it is very busy and it can be very daunting and overwhelming in some way. Because I remember going to Vrindavan in the 80s and it was so beautiful, very tranquil, very peaceful. You'd go on yatra without being hustle and bustle of all the merchants around you. Of course, everybody goes there for a particular reason during Kartik. You can never deny anybody from entering Vrindavan. But certainly when you think about 150 million pilgrims coming into a very condensed area, it is quite a lot of people there. Of course, all come in the intention to get purified by bathing in the holy rivers. Now, these 4 holy places, Nasik, Ujjain, Prayag, and what was the last one, Haridwar. Does anybody know why they're so famous? Why is it these 4 particular places? What is the story behind them? Anybody knows? I'll just give you a little clue just to get everybody engaged. The 4 drops of nectar fell on these places. Where were the 4 drops of nectar from? Everybody's so quiet. It's a nice time to catch up on your rest when I'm speaking. Okay, I'll explain. So during the war between the Devas and the demons.
Yeah, yes.
Oh yeah, please go ahead. Who's that speaking?
Yeah, sorry. They got the nectar. The Devatas got the nectar from demons. They were fighting between Devatas and demons. And Devatas got them. And 4 drops of the nectar when we spread over that 4 places like that.
Yeah, thank you. What's your name,
Something,
please?
yes, Kanta.
Kanta. Thank you very much, Kanta. Thank you for being brave. Sometimes we feel shy because we may feel that we may not answer correctly, but still it's nice that everybody has to say something, because it's important is that to see Krishna is first to hear about Krishna. And it's also good for you because all of you, you're all spiritual leaders, and you have to one day speak this words of wisdom to other people who may not know about these beautiful topics of Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So during the war between the Devas and the demons, while they were churning the ocean with the Vasuki snake wrapped around Mount Mandara, and Kurmadev, who was incarnation in the form of a tortoise of Lord Vishnu, supported Mount Mandara to stop it from slipping while the churning of the mountain was taking place between the Devas and the demons. The Devas were very clever because they asked the demons to be on the head of the snake of Vasuki, where the hot fumes from the mouth and the fire that came emanated from this 1,000-headed Naga which was causing the demons to go blind, become exhausted. But anyway, while the churning of the matter was taking place, nectar was formed and was in a pot, and Dhanvantari was another manifestation of Lord Vishnu, came and took the pot, but the demons snatched it off Lord Dhanvantari, and there was a little tug of war between the demons and the demigods, and while they were holding the pot, 4 drops fell down. 4 drops of these nectar dropped in the 4 places of Bharatbhumi, Prayag, Hardwar, Nasik, and Ujjain. So these 4 holy places are where the Kumbh Mela takes place every 13 years, every 11 years, beg your pardon. So now I was going to talk a little bit about, with your permission, I'm just going to share a slideshow. If you could just let me know if you could see that, okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see.
Okay, yeah. So this is Radhamohan Prabhu. You've probably seen him at Bhaktivedanta Manor. He kindly presented a 1-hour talk for the company I work for, London Underground. And London Underground has a different kind of network groups. And one of the network groups is a faith network group, and faith network group is divided into smaller network groups. There's like Christian, Judaism, Jain. I'm part of the Hindu network. There's Islam and networks. And each of us, we do monthly discussions or topics whenever it's feasible. And I asked Radhamohan Prabhu to talk about the cosmic creation. With his permission, I asked him if I could show part of his slideshow, which he presented to all of you. Now, his slideshow was 77 pages long, and Radhamohan Prabhu is very, very knowledgeable. He's a senior teacher on Bhakti, devotion of God. He's an interfaith leader. He's a wonderful devotee. He's very much creates a lot of YouTube videos. If you go into Radhamohan YouTube channel, you see all the links of the videos he's presented. So I'm just going to give you a little background about the cosmic creation. Here you see beautiful Radha and Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. This is the top realm of the spiritual world. Now, can you imagine Goloka? Go means cow, the planet of the cows. So our aim is to be with Krishna. But if our aim is to go to the planet of the cows, can you imagine how important the cows are? As we recite in our verses every day when we do the offering, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taja Jagatita Krishnaya Govinda Namo Nama. So Krishna first of all says go. Go means the cow, go Raksha. And then Brahmana is very dear to the Brahmanas. Go Brahmanya Taja Jagatita Krishnaya Govinda Namo Nama. So it just shows you how important in the spiritual world, he has Radha Krishna here performing his beautiful eternal pastimes with the gopis, with the gopas. And at the same time, there's the manifestations of millions of Sarabi cows who are like desire trees themselves and can fulfill the desires of anything anybody wished. So any of you have been to the Goshala recently? You could just wave your hands or give a little wave in your signs. Okay. I know it's very cold, it's winter time, and sometimes it's not always pleasant to go out in the cold. But when you do take darshan of their lordships, there's 2 places that you should always take darshan of, Vrinda Devi and also to see the cows. Vrinda Devi, of course, when we pray to Vrinda Devi, we bestow to give us causeless mercy so we could perform bhakti, devotion. Pray to Vrinda Devi, please give me the opportunity to reside in the holy place of Vrindavan. So within my vision, I can behold the beautiful pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna. Please make me your maidservant. So we pray to Vrinda Devi. So before you go to the temple, always come, offer your respects to Vrinda Devi. Through the mercy of Vrinda Devi, we can see the manifestations of Radha and Krishna. The cows, once again, right now it's a very good opportunity if you go to any of the super major supermarkets, they're selling carrots, vegetables, cabbages very cheaply, 10p a kilo. Just have to buy a pound, 10 kilos, and just give it to the cows on your next way to the temple. And just let all your friends, your family, neighbors know as well, yeah? So here we have the spiritual, if you can imagine a complete universal, spiritual universal planetary system. We have Goloka Vrindavan, which is the highest planetary system. And then from there, the expansions of all the different planetary systems, different lokas, and the pastimes and the transformation manifestations of the Lord in that particular personality. Like you have Achyuta Loka, Keshava Loka, Purushottam Loka, Trivikram Loka, Anuruddha Loka, Govinda Loka, so many wonderful, beautiful places. And if you consider the spiritual cosmic universes as a whole, 3/4 is considered to be the spiritual world. A quarter of it is considered to be the material manifestation, which is temporary, whereas the spiritual world is eternal. This material manifestation is temporary and it's also partial with some of the heavenly planets as well, like Brahma Loka. So the material manifestation is compared to a prison, just like any nation, anybody who's disobeyed the laws of the government, of committed crimes, they get sent into prison. There's a particular place where prisoners are locked up and have to pay their duty to consider some of the activities or wrongdoings that they've done until they redeem themselves. So similarly, this material world, this material manifestation is created solely for the purpose of those who are not inclined in spiritual activities, those who are not interested in, or rather deviated from spiritual practices. So we fall into this material manifestation, and this material manifestation has 14 planetary systems, 7 lower planetary systems, 7 higher planetary systems, which I'll explain later on. Although it's temporary, but we have to go through this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. As in the Bhagavad Gita, it mentions, for one who has taken birth, death is certain. For one who has died at the end, then again he takes birth again. But for one who, at the end of his life, quits his body, remembering me alone, attains my nature, of this there is no doubt. So if you remember Krishna at the time of death, then certainly you will get that nature of the Supreme Lord in your next life. But one, or whatever one desires at the end of his life, but be it an animal, be it a woman, be it something materialistic, something that you've always wanted to be, a rich person, a wealthy person, in your next life, that state of being you will attain with a fall. So whatever state of being one remembers at the time of their death, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that state you will attain without fail. So within the Bhagavatam, you hear wonderful stories, well, not wonderful stories, but stories to remind us what happens to somebody who remembers something at the time of death. Does anybody know of any wonderful topics that they could share who remembers somebody at the time of death and in their next life they got a body of an animal or a woman or something else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I accept my humble obeisances of good Krishna Prabhupada? We
Hare.
know the story of Jar Bharat.
Yes, very good.
He was attached to the deer, and
Yes.
then he got the body of a deer, but since he was a very elevated soul, he remembered his previous life, and then he spent his time at the ashram of his guru in the body of the deer, and then he
Yeah.
left his body to become Jar Bharat.
Very good. Thank you so much. Yes. So Jar Bharat is a wonderful story. As grandparents, we may come to grandparents, we get very attached to our grandchildren. We have a different duty because you may be practicing Krishna consciousness. We get attached to children. It's natural because some of the time and effort that we were too busy taking care of our day-to-day activities, work, family, finance, our own health, we sometimes couldn't give that same opportunity to our children. But then when we see children in our older age, we become very affectionate to them as well. And similarly, in the Bhagavatam, it tells of stories where certain personalities, they either were remembering a woman at the time of death, and in the next life, they got a body of a woman as well. And because they were still remembering their spiritual activities, connection to Lord Vishnu, then they actually freed themselves from that bondage and became elevated in their next life. So these are wonderful topics that we all understand. So this material manifestation is part of the false ego. Trying to see where my cursor is. Sorry, just 1 minute. Hare Krishna, sorry, did you hear me or did you lose my voice?
Yes,
We
Prabhu.
did not hear you.
Okay, sorry, there's a little pause on the computer for some reason. So here we have Mahavishnu, known as Garbhadakshay Vishnu. I beg your pardon, Karandakshay Vishnu. So here is laying, and as he's breathing out, all the bubbles that you can see around here are the material manifestation or material creation that come in from the pores of his skin as he breathes out. And as he breathes back in again, every single bubble enters back into Mahavishnu and dissolves back into his body. And each of these bubbles, while they're created, as he glances with the manifestation and the energy of Durga Devi, he impregnates each of these bubbles with all the different living entities, different species of life, and the millions of different planets that are in each of the universe, along with Lord Shiva as well. So within Mahavishnu's glance, impregnates each of these universes with all the living entities, with the different Shaktis of Durga Devi and Lord Shiva. So now when you see this little rectangle here, you see lots of bubbles there. Each of these bubbles represent this material universe. And in this material universe, you see the beautiful snake, Sheshananta, which is a manifestation of Lord Baladev, which is the first expansion of Lord Krishna. And on this serpent bed lies Lord Vishnu, is known as Garbhadakshay Vishnu. So this ocean, the ocean of milk, is known as the Garbha ocean. And at his lotus feet resides Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is there, always taking care of Lord Vishnu's needs, massaging his lotus feet. And even all of us were designed to be just a little speck of dust at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. One of the fourth verse or fifth verse from Shikshashtakam. Oh my Lord, oh my, oh son of Krishna, oh son of Nanda Krishna, somehow or another I've fallen into this material ocean. Please pick me up from this ocean of birth and death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. We're always praying that we can be an atom at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Now you can see all the universes. Every universe has Sheshananta, has Lord Vishnu, has Lakshmi Devi. Now from the navel of Lord Vishnu sprouts a lotus flower. And from the lotus flower, on top of the lotus flower is Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, through the mercy of Lord Vishnu gives him the possibility, the mercy, the ability to create it or to create all the living entities. So at the beginning, Lord Brahma is confused. He doesn't know what his purpose is in life. So he climbs down the sprout of Lord Vishnu, of the lotus flower, and he sees the manifestation of Lord Vishnu, but it's still not clear who he is or why he's there. So he goes back to the lotus, and then he meditates for thousands of years, and then from Lord Vishnu, he gives him the intelligence to understand who he is, what his purpose is, and then from there he actually creates all the different universes, different planetary systems in the universe itself. Now, sometimes when we actually see, like from a Western point of view, when they refer to like Brahma as the creator, Lord Vishnu as the maintainer, Lord Shiva as the destroyer, but in fact, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they get their energy, their mercy, their manifestations, their power from Lord Vishnu himself. So it's not that Lord Brahma is the creator, it's just been given that quality, the ability by Lord Vishnu, just like a senior person tells somebody, go ahead, I've given you this project, you go ahead and design it. But he's always going backwards and forwards to the senior engineer to help him develop that design, and the senior engineer shows him what to do and how to do it. So within the material body, each of us have a material body. So we have 5 material elements and 3 subtle elements. Does anybody know what the 5 material elements are and the 3 subtle elements? There's a clue here already.
3 subtle. Is that mind, intelligence, and false ego?
and ego, yes. So these are the three subtle
And what
elements of the subtle body.
Yeah.
So you can imagine you have say a ball, and within the ball there's like an aura around it. So within the body we have the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. And when the body comes to a point of death, the five material elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. They disintegrate, and the mind, intelligence, and ego, depending on their karmic duties that they've done in this life and previous lives, they get a particular body in the next life, whether it's 4 legs, 2 legs, 100 legs. It all depends on their karma, their pious deeds or misdeeds in this life and previous lives. So part of it is the air, you've got the air, ether, you've got the fire, you've got the water, and then finally, you've also got the earth, the solid form. Now here, the Brahmananda, which is considered to be the external energy, is formed by transformation of elements, starting as the most subtle, then getting grosser. So within the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 7.7.22, just check on the time. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and force, ego, altogether, these eight comprised by separated material energies. Bhumi, earth, includes all the objects of sense perception, form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. So earlier on, we were talking about the 23 elements. The 23 elements refers to also the manifestation of the Lord as well. Now, if I go into a bit more detail, if you look at that bubble, which we were looking at earlier on, so bottom half is covered by the ocean, known as the Garbhodaka Ocean. And on the horizontal plane, it's considered to be a disk across the middle called Bhumandala, with a similar scale to the solar system. So when you've studied geology, geography, or whatever subjects you have at school or in college or university, you have the solar system. And now the solar system is considered to be similar to the Bhumandala across the middle of the this particular bubble of the universe, and that is called the Bhumandala. In the vertical direction, it includes 14 planetary divisions, 7 lower planetary systems and 7 upper planetary systems. Now, within the Bhagavad Gita, measures those in the mode of goodness go to the higher planets, and those in the mode of passion live in the earthly planets, which we are part of, and those in the mode of ignorance go downwards to the hellish planets. And those who go to the heavenly planets, they do not necessarily go back. But at the same time, it says from the highest planets down to the lowest are all places of misery. So if within the heavenly planets, there's also considered to be misery there, according to, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, because when you see the Vedas, when you see the stories of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Devas and the demons are constantly at loggerheads with each other, fighting for supremacy. If you see the stories of Lord Indra, it's constantly being dethroned by different demons, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, everyone, and he's constantly pray to Lord Brahma, pray to Lord Vishnu for support, to ask him to regain his kingdom again. One particular story is Lord Vamandev. And Lord Vaman, when he goes to, Indradev's mother is very, very upset that Bali has taken the throne of Indradev, and he goes to Lord Vishnu to pray, please, please, please allow me to take revenge on Bali and his ministers, for they've taken the kingdom of my son Indra. But Lord Vishnu is so merciful, he said, my dear mother, I am not able to just take the kingdom away just like that, nor am I able to fight with these personalities. And why is that? Because even in Bali Maharaj, he had his Guru Shukracharya and all the Brahmanas, because the Brahmanas are dear to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is also the protector of the Brahmanas. So he came in a different way. He came in the form of Vamana Dev, and he somehow convinced Bali Maharaj to give him 3 steps of land. And as you know, from the 3 steps, he conquered the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, heavenly planets on the 3rd step. He didn't know where to step, and Bali Maharaj said, please, kindly put your 3rd step on my head. That's why Bali Maharaj is considered to be one of the Mahajans. And Lord Vamadev was so happy with Bali Maharaj that he gave him a kingdom of his own. And this kingdom is considered to be even greater than Lord Indra himself, and is protected by Lord Vamandev. And in fact, Ravana had come to Bali, the kingdom of Bali, but Lord Vamandev refused him to come in there. So beautiful pastimes. So anyway, within the middle of that particular Bhumandala is the Mount Meru, which is 800,000 miles, and is covered by a saltwater ocean. Now, here is just some other figures of a planet, Uranus, which is almost 2 billion miles away. Some information for you to digest if you want to. NASA calculates that the Voyager 1 is roughly 13.2 billion miles from Earth. So Uranus was 2 billion miles from Earth. This is 13.2 billion. Voyager 2 is 11 billion miles from Earth, which is just considered to be like a speck of dust. So the first layer is Earth, and every layer above it, you've got the Earth layer, which is the grossest, then you've got the water, you've got fire, air, sky, total energy, false ego. And each layer is considered to be 10 times thicker than the previous layer. So water is the layer is considered to be thicker than Earth layer. So that if you can imagine, so the first layer, Earth, is 40 billion miles thick. So the water is 10 times that much. And then fire is 10 times thicker than the thickness of the water. And consequently, that is 10 times, the air is 10 times thicker than fire, sky is 10 times thicker than air, and then the total energy and force ego is 10 times thicker than the sky itself. So you can imagine how big that universe is, and we're just like a little speck of dust in this whole cosmic creation. If you imagine adding all those 7 layers would be this much, 44 quadrillion miles, which is considered to be 15,000 light years in diameter. So within the Bhagavatam, it mentions there are innumerable universes, all of them together are known as the created material world. So if you can see the Bhumandala, you've got the Earth planet system, you've got the Mount Meru, which is 800,000 miles high, you've got the Earth planet, and then within this particular universal bubble, you've got Drivaloka, which is also considered to be the North Pole, you've got Mahaloka, you've got all the other lokas as well, Janaloka, Tapaloka. Then one of the highest planetary systems is Brahmaloka, which is Satyaloka. So the universe lasts for 311 trillion, 40 billion Earth years. And we know Lord Brahma lives 100 of his years. He's now 50 years and half a day old. Daytime of Lord Brahma is 4.32 billion years on Earth. And when you look at the actual 4 yugas, Dvija Yuga, Kali Yuga, you've got first of all Satya Yuga, people are in the mode of goodness. To Satya Yuga, people are constantly meditating on the Supreme Lord for manifest, or rather for salvation to the spiritual world. Then you've got Treta Yuga. Treta Yuga, they're also in the mode of goodness mixed with the mode of passion. And here people are worshipping the Supreme Lord through yajna performance. And Dwapara Yuga, through the meditation or the worship of deity worship, is mixed with passion and ignorance. And finally, in Kali Yuga is considered to be the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Satya Yuga is the golden age. Treta Yuga is the silver age. Dwapara Yuga, the bronze age. Kali Yuga, the age of iron. So within Satya Yuga, people are said to, although there's the 4 important aspects of our spiritual journey, the truthfulness, austerity, mercy, cleanliness. So within each of the yuga, one of these qualities diminishes slowly. And each of those particular qualities relate to the 4 activities that we have to avoid. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. So each of those yugas refer to removing oneself from either cleanliness, austerity, mercy. And right now, the age of Kali Yuga, the only quality remaining is, to a certain degree, is Kali Yuga in the form of government, in the form of law and order, in the form of some ability to take judgment for certain causes of righteousness. But as you can see in this Kali Yuga, everybody is fighting against each other. One government is fighting against another government. Everything is going into a real turmoil, and this is the degrading age of Kali Yuga. But one advantage of Kali Yuga It's the simplest form of chanting the holy name of the Lord, allows us to free ourselves from this age, this cycle of birth and death and disease. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam, kalonaste, kalonaste, gati anyataha. So this is a cycle that we're all going through, and we have to now consider ourselves to free ourselves from this material bondage, free ourselves from the cycle of birth and death, and be with Krishna eternally. And the way to do it is through devotional practice. So within the Bhagavad Gita, the beautiful verse from chapter 8, verse 28. So sometimes even when you read this philosophy, it's very difficult to understand. Even I've read it for many years and I get confused about this material universe, about even understanding who Krishna is. If you can imagine great personalities like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma cannot understand who Krishna is. But here, there is an assurance from Lord Krishna himself. Vedeshu yagyashu tapashu chaiva daneshu yad punya phalam pratistam achetita savamidam viditva yogi paramstanamupeti chadyam. Translation: person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So if you can imagine, in the age of Satya Yuga, people were meditating for hundreds and thousands of years. In the age of Treta Yuga, people were performing yagyas, performing sacrifices for thousands of years. In Kali Yuga, in Satyatreta Dwapara Yuga, people were performing native worship for hundreds of years to get the connection to the Supreme Lord. And in Kali Yuga, we just have to chant the holy names of the Lord, but to do it with love and devotion as well. Just quickly to finalize, did anybody attend the Gita Jayanti yesterday at Bhaktivedanta Manor? And if they could give one or two sentences of their realization. It was beautifully recited, took about 7 hours with His Holiness Keshav Maharaj with the assembly of about 500 devotees and 500 devotees online. Does anybody want to give a little realization of what they felt at the end of reading the recitation of the 700 verses? Perhaps even one word, anybody?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, it is. Thank you for being brave. Thank you.
It was the summary right at the end that S.B.K. Maharaj gave, where he asked everybody, do you remember what these the summaries were? And I did watch it all, but I couldn't remember what they were. And everything, he gave 8 points, I think it was, but everything began with the letter R. That's what I recalled.
Yeah.
How the Gita can be implemented in our lives. Because normally we read, or reading this Gita, it's quite abstract, and you don't kind of you do understand, but it's brought it to a perspective that how we can utilize it within our lives, as opposed to just understanding that, we are the soul and we need to return to Godhead. But he's saying, okay, in your day-to-day life, if you take the principles, you can apply them and become a better person and then share with others. Very good.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice of you to explain that. And it's so good that you actually understood the essence of the Bhagavad Gita at the end of the recitation. And also, it's not just like a novel. It's not just an entertainment book like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. These are real, genuine books to read and understand and put it into our daily practice. Does anybody else want to give a little summary of how they felt by the recitation? Perhaps even the presence of reciting with all the other devotees. Does anyone feel brave to say something? Does it have to be something confidential? Something that you're happy to share? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, could I just share again?
Yeah, sure. Hitesh, go ahead.
Yes, it was wonderful to see the generations doing the recitations. It wasn't just elderly but the young children did recitations, and it was wonderful to see that there is future within ISKCON to move forward, and the generations are learning these. That was one wonderful thing, and also I think Radha Govinda and SBK Maharaj hearing about the both of them. I call them the two amigos from my land perspective, but it's interesting that they both were monks and they kind of bounced off each other, I guess. And I think Radha Govinda kind of went into the Grahastha route of life, and SBK has gone into the sannyasi route of life. And it's kind of wonderful to see that both routes can lead to liberation. I guess I'm not sure if I'm using the right words here. Liberation or mukti. And that's kind of seeing it in real life, should we say, as opposed to just seeing it as a kind of a theory. That was it's wonderful to see those both together and speak to each other and to bounce off each other. So that's just something that I also picked up from the recitation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hitesh. That's a very good. And the importance of that is association. So now if you can imagine, during COVID, many of us were in that very delusional state. What's going to happen? Am I going to be infected by this virus? Am I going to die? My friends are dying. My colleagues are dying. But here we had this wonderful opportunity where many devotees were able to participate through technology, which is used in Krishna's way, by promoting the chapter a day. And every day devotees were reciting the Bhagavad Gita. They started off with Bhagavad Gita, went about 2 or 3 times over. Eventually they started the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the important point I was going to say, iterating Hitesh's point, is when devotees stay together, have their association together, it helps them support them in their spiritual journey. Nobody could actually say, well, I'm okay, I'm happy to do whatever I want. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, if somebody doesn't follow the spiritual injunction according to my authority, then he's going to be bereft of all spiritual knowledge. Why is that? Because he may start doing things and activities which are not actually authorized by the sampradaya, by the disciplic succession. One time I remember going to a talk, sometimes you have like the sanghas at people's homes, a devotee speaks, different devotee family members come in, they invite neighbors, friends. And this devotee is a very young devotee, a very good friend of mine as well. He was speaking about the Bhagavad Gita. And then one lady, sort of quite young lady actually, put her hand up and said, I don't see the point of following every rules and regulations as written in the scriptures. We're sure able to choose what we want to do in our life. Although she didn't say it in those words, it was about 25 years ago, but it always stuck in my mind. But the point I wanted to make was that what it is that just like within the government, within the nation that we live in, we have certain principles that we have to follow, certain rules that we have to follow, certain government laws that we have to follow. You cannot just visit any country you want without a passport. You cannot start driving on the wrong side of the road. You cannot go through a red traffic light. There's certain laws that we have to follow. And then, even though we may have a free speech, so why should I? But there is a law. Similarly, there's laws of nature that we have to follow. And these laws of nature are so important. They're actually given and been instructed by the Supreme Authority, and that is Krishna. Now, individually, we may find it difficult, as Keshava Maharaj was saying, join the 5 a.m. club. Even I go through phases. I find it difficult waking up in the morning. And sometimes I see beautiful prasadam and I indulge in too much. But when you have association of devotees, like the way Hitesh Prabhu was mentioning about Radha Govinda Prabhu and Keshava Maharaj, they were both brahmacharis, lived in the ashram together for many years. And I do know from my own personal realization, coming to the temple as a young boy and living my life through teenager age, joining youth groups like Mahabharat Youth Club, Mana Youth Forum, then Padavasena, and having my own family, having children grow up, and now they're growing up being part of the Sunday school youth group. There is a connection spiritually, whereas those who've slightly drifted away, personal reasons, financial reasons, marital reasons, geographical reasons, any reasons that may cause us to drift away from the association of the devotees, the association of the temple ashram, slowly dissipate in their mood, their service, their servitude, even their gratitude towards the temple. They become sort of distance from the temple, distance from the scriptures, and even not wanting to participate in the routine of what most of you are doing at home, having small altar at home. I think, Hitesh, from your picture, you have a nice shrine there with Radha Damodar and Mother Yashoda. You offer candle, offer fruits, water to them. And that's the smallest things that we can do in our day-to-day life. And by praying to the Supreme Lord, please, Krishna, I am of no significance, but by your causeless mercy, you can give me some spiritual benedictions so I could understand who you are, what is the purpose of life, how can I serve you, how can I serve the devotees. Help me understand all these beautiful words in the scriptures. I do not understand what they mean, but please give me the intelligence so I can understand and be able to understand and follow the footsteps of the spiritual masters and my authorities. Yeah. Just one last word from anybody else. Any other realization anybody wants to give? Otherwise, then I'll close it and ask for forgiveness for any mistakes I've made as well.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the nice class. Thank you for the nice class. Well, a good explanation and the pictures also. Also, you mentioned that at the end of the life, when whatever we desire, that we will come back, that we know. But we should also know that when a sincere devotee, when he's living, he or she is living their life, and they are not able to think of anything, because he said that like 40, 50 million or thousands scorpions are biting their body when the when the soul is in the body, which is very, very hard. So if somebody cannot remember the Lord at that time, the Lord comes himself, because he sees that this devotee has been serving me all his life or whole life. So this is now my turn to come. In this way, we are always thinking of the Lord. So he will come for us at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Nice class.
Thank you, Indulekha Devi. And that is really good, important point. You know, sometimes when we go through that point, just like Krishna assures us, even at the time of death, that you don't remember me, do not worry, I shall remember you. And he gives that promise. So Krishna is not one to break his promise at all. Have you seen in any of these stories of the Mahabharata, he may be partial to the Pandavas, but he never broke his promise at all. Only one time he broke his promise was when Bhishma Dev was firing countless arrows at Arjuna, which wounded him and shot arrows at Arjuna. And Krishna, seeing his devotee in such a pitiful situation, he wanted to protect Arjuna, and he got off his chariot, picked up the wheel of a chariot and used it as a chakra, was going full steam ahead to attack Bhishma Dev, because he was very angry at Bhishma Dev had attacked his dutiful devotee, his disciple and dear friend Arjuna. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I know earlier on I mentioned about the Lord Vishnu. He has a conch shell, he has a club, he has a desk, he has a lotus. So something interesting I was reading just on the Ramayana. So we understand Lord Ramachandra is none other than an incarnation of Krishna, and Vishnu. Lakshmana is incarnation of Baladev. Now, does anybody know who the manifestations of Bharat and Chaturanga are from? One of the four symbols of Lord Vishnu.
Is it the conch shell, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so the conch shell, which personality, which Bharat or Chaturanga?
Bharat, I think.
Yes, very good, Naina. And Chaturanga is? The lotus flower.
Lotus flower, yes.
Yes, I have to admit, even after many years, I came to understand that. So it's good that you know that, Naina Mataji. So thank you very much, everyone. Please take some humble obeisances and do forgive me for any mistakes, and hopefully see you again. And in the new year, of course, a New Year's resolution is not just about something for our body, but to see if you can engage yourself in more opportunities and serving the devotees, serving Krishna. As I mentioned earlier on, if our goal is to go to Goloka Vrindavan, the planet of the cows where Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani resides, then our duty is to take care of the cows and the brahmanas wherever they may be. So whether you may not be able to go personally, perhaps you know somebody else, give a little donation to contribute to taking care of the cows. When you take care of the cows, then certainly your devotional kripa increases multifold as well. So with that in hand, I offer my obeisances to all of you. Vanchakapatarvisha, kripa sindhibhyacha, patitana bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnava,
namo
Namo
namaha.
Namaha.
And please pray for me that I also become a good devotee too. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
There's a bhajan. Sham Prabhuji is singing the bhajan.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
It was at for Sham Prabhuji. So,
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Radhe Jai Krishna and Dear Devika will be doing the translation, Prabhuji, of
Jai.
English translation.
Thank you very much. I'll let you carry on, Shams. Do forgive me. I didn't know there was a song because normally Mataji, she normally sends me a message. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. George.
Sham Prabhuji, dear Devika, Jyoti Mataji, Devika can read the translation first, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation. All glories to Radha and Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavana. All glories to the three preceding deities of Vrindavana, Sri Govinda, Gopita, and Madana Mohana. All glories to Syama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Govindahana Hill, and the Yamuna River, Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana, where Krishna and Balrama displayed all their childhood pastimes. All glories to Kesi Ghat, where Krishna killed the Kesi demon. All glories to the Vyamsi Vata tree, where Krishna attracted all the gopis to come by playing his flute. All glories to all of the 12 forests of Vraja. All these places the son of Nanda, Sri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys, headed by Sri Dama, the older brother of Srimati Radharani and Angana Manjari. All glories to the cows and calves of Vraja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Rishabhanu and beautiful Kirtina. All glories to Parasami Puranyamasi, the mother of Sandyupani Muni, grandmother of Madhu Mangal and Nandi Mukhi, and beloved disciple of Devrasi Naranta. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Raja. All glories to Gosipiva Shiva, who resides in Vrindavana in order to protect the holy Dhamma. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahma friend, Madhu Yangala. All glories to Ramgata, where Lord Balrama performed his rasa dance. All glories to Balrama, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavana. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of Kalia serpent, Through pure devotion, they all obtained the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the Rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shama. All glories to the divine Rasa dance, which is most beautiful of all Lord Krishna pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas and propagated in Raja by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Parakya Bhava Parmara love. Remembering the lotus feet of all Nityananda's consort, Sri Gahadevi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna sings the Sanskrita of the holy name. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I'll sing Mataji. Jaya Radha Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavana Sri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya
Jaya Maha
Ishigata Bamsi Bata Dwadashakana Jaha Sabalila Koilo Sri Nandanandana Sri Nanda Yashoda Jaya Jaya Gopagana Sri Damadi Jaya Jaya Denu Vatsagan Jaya Brishabhanu Jaya Jaya Kitidi Sundari Jaya Paurnamasi Jaya Abhiranagari Jaya Jaya Gopishwara Vrindavana Maja Jaya Jaya Krishna Saka Batu Dwijaraja Jaya Ramagata Jaya Rohini Nandana Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Bashi Jata Jana Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya Naga Kanyagana Bhakti Ti Jahara Pailo Govinda Charan Sri Rasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shama Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sarva Manoram Jaya Jayodvala Rasa Sarvarasa Sara Parikiya Bhave Jaha Brajati Prachara Srijana Vipada Padma Koriya Smarana Dina Krishna Dasa Kohe Nama Sankirtana Jaya Radha Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavana Sri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohana. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the beautiful singing, and thank you, Devika, for the translation. Thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you, everyone.
Vanchakapataruvischa
कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां
Pitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Namo
नमो
Namaha
नमः हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.